We're live.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the City of Annapolis Standing Committee, Public Safety Committee meeting for Thursday, October 27, 2022. It is 4:05 p.m. in the afternoon. Calling the meeting to order. Good afternoon again. At this time, we'll have a roll call. Alderwoman O'Neill,
Here.
Alderman Gay. Not here. Alderwoman Pendell Charles, here. All right. Let me see. Okay, approval of the agenda. Approval of the minutes. PSC 9/28/22, special meeting minutes. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting?
Do you want approval of the agenda first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I've jumped all over. Thank you, Alderwoman
Make a
O'Neill.
motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. We've heard a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I hear no nays. It is approved. Thank you. Approval of the minutes, PSC 9/28/22, special meeting minutes of September 28th.
Motion to approve special meeting minutes 9.28.22.
I've heard a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. I hear no opposition. Legislation. 3822, vehicles and traffic, stopping, standing, and parking. Parking spaces reserved for the purpose of reserving temporary assigned handicap parking spaces in residential areas for City of Annapolis residents and generally dealing with handicap parking. And we have Alderwoman Tierney here specifically for that piece of legislation. This was on the agenda for the last meeting, and we heard several conversations and dialogue, and we decided at the end to have this postponed until today for further discussion and some other things that I thought needed to be discussed and taken into account by staff, especially our Office of Law. And we have here today Ms. Carrie Berger, who's our Assistant City Attorney, who's assigned. And Ms. Berger, let's hear from you regarding the legislation. I know you did provide us with some information that I think is very salient.
Well, for starters, there hasn't been a request for an amendment sent. So the Office of Law hasn't made any amendments or hasn't made any changes to the legislation. So the legislation as proposed is still the legislation as proposed. There's been some clarification since the last meeting with regard to, sort of the state process by the MVA and what Public Works does as a result of notification from the MVA. But there are still some concerns related to the legislation as proposed, specifically relating to medical certification and the eligibility criteria and where that sort of comes from and how that relates to what the MVA process is for the permanent reserved parking spaces. So I think that there are some things that could be worked out, but we can't act unless we've been requested to act. So that's going to be up to the sponsor or you as the chair to sort of make a determination as to where this legislation goes next.
Okay.
But we are ready and willing to assist. I'm looking at Cynthia over there. I'm speaking on behalf of the two of us to help if there are any amendment requests. And there are some things that need to be amended regardless, some clarification language and some things to sort of clean it up, nothing too substantive. So amendments are probably going to be coming down the pipeline regardless.
Okay. My druthers is to clear that up within the committee itself, and then once it gets on the dais, we know we have at least 3 votes for the amendments as well as the legislation, but to have it pretty much clean once it leaves here. But I'm going to defer here to Alderwoman O'Neill if she has any questions.
I do not have any questions at this time.
Okay. Alderwoman Tierney.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I apologize for not being at the last meeting when this was introduced. I do have a question, and I want to make sure, and it's based on what you said before the meeting, so you'll probably have to repeat it, about the medical application. I'm looking at an email that's color-coded, and Hillary responded in red to some of our questions. And so the one question was if the if your disability becomes permanent, then how is that handled in the state and the city? Obviously, if the disability becomes permanent, then they have to apply through the state. Then the next question is, who's monitoring if the person's disability is temporary or permanent? And Hillary replies, the applicant has to go through the state for their temporary disability placard, the same one they use to park at public disabled parking spots. All we are doing is marking the spot in front of the house for that duration set by the doctor in the state of their temporary disability. So from reading her response, and I don't know the answer to this, but this is based on actually her research, is that they have to apply, they have to go through the state to get that medical. So when you had said earlier the liability of us determining whether or not they're medically disabled, isn't that with the state?
Yeah, that should be with what this, and that's what I was saying before. The legislation as drafted, though, does require someone who's applying for a temporary reserved parking space to submit medical certification. And that's the concern that I had with that language in our proposed legislation.
Not to us, though. It shouldn't be to us.
It should not be to us. I mean, they already have to do all of that to the state for the temporary placard.
Yes.
So having to do it again to us when we don't
No.
really have a medical board to kind of assess and evaluate
No.
would be
Yeah.
problematic.
Okay, so we got to get that out. Okay. Are you clear on the objective of this? It sounds, I mean, I was this close to saying, you know, what's that expression when the solution is worse than the, but unfortunately with our prolific knee surgeries and all that kind of stuff, this is really what the city is providing, is that spot as close to their house as possible. Yes, it's more specific to Ward 1 in Eastport where there are less parking spaces, but I think it's reached a threshold where we needed to address this. We have in the code a similar application of the medical assistant, or if someone's in need of a hospice or a medical aid, we do have in the code that we provide a space for them. So we wanted to just adopt, you know, similar objective with the resident, i.e. patient themselves. So it sounds like that you and I have to get together and try to make this work. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
And my initial reaction was that, especially when it comes to parking, yeah, and I know wards 1 and 8 do have a challenge many times, but I was looking at my own ward even recently, and my thought was that I didn't know how it would impact my own ward.
Yeah.
When it comes to parking, how far or how close someone would get the space, that sort of thing. And so I didn't know, for lack of a better phrase, if it was using a sledgehammer to kill an ant.
That's the expression I was looking for.
And so
Yeah.
that was my thought for it. I didn't want to create something, and I understand certain wards are more affected, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go down that route, and then we end up finding that it's more problematic than helpful.
Yeah, I think your concern is this appears, the optics of this looks like we're taking away a space, and the way that we look at it is that this resident who probably doesn't have their own driveway usually parks on the street anyway, so we're just relocating that space. So the objective is there to be no net loss of available parking for the community.
Okay, fine, thank you. And my thought would be that we postpone this. Our next scheduled public safety meeting, of course, is the first Tuesday of the month. But that would be the 7th of November, and that's not enough time. So Ms. Jackson will be looking at other dates later on in November, so that you and Ms. Berger can get together.
Sure.
And have that. I would rather have it all ironed out here. And then we're going to have, of course, a public hearing for this because it's an ordinance. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
Just
think it would
wondering what
behoove
happens
us to
first,
kind
yeah.
of try to.
Yeah, we won't have the public hearing until it goes through this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would be, I think, good for the public to be able to see, to be able to understand exactly the reason for this. And so they would have a good understanding of it once that all kind of gets worked out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cynthia, would you like to be involved in the? Yes. I would like you to be.
Well, unless you have any other
Yeah,
comments
so-
or questions.
We'll path forward is that we'll get an amendment ready for the
Sounds
next meeting.
Yeah, and we'll try to make it towards the end of November instead of the beginning of November. That gives you all time enough to do what you need to do.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to make a motion.
We can make a motion.
to postpone decision on 03822 until the next Public Safety Committee meeting.
And I second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. Thank you all. I think that's great. I'm really pleased. I also want to acknowledge our Chief of the Fire Department, Mr. Romali, as well as our Deputy Chief, Mr. Spriggs, and also Ms. Nia Curtis, who's our Ward 3 Community Liaison. So, next on the agenda is, let me get this straight. 04722, Vehicles and Traffic, Special Residential Parking Districts, Non-Resident Parking Permits and Temporary Passes for the purpose of allowing guest parking passes for City of Annapolis property owners who reside in the city seasonally and generally relating to off-street parking. Okay, and Alderwoman Tierney is the sponsor of that legislation.
Yes. Another constituent services issue. I postponed this for 60 days
Okay.
as of the meeting before last. So, what?
October 10th.
Oh, so we're past, oh, that's when I made the motion to postpone for 60 days. So how does that work then? It's postponed.
Till December.
Yeah, it has to go to council for first reader. So whenever that meeting is,
Right, it's December 12th.
okay.
So that's postponed until
It
December.
is because of the parking's been a very sensitive issue in downtown, and this is something that we've had on the back burner, but it wasn't an ideal time to introduce it.
Okay.
So in December, things will simmer down a little bit, and I'll explain what it is.
Okay.
So we don't do
All right.
anything with that?
So
make a motion
make a
to-
motion.
So we make a
Alderwoman?
motion to postpone any decision on 04722 until after the December 12th council meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. I see we do have two guests in the audience today who I know very well. Surprise, surprise. We normally do not take testimony during a Public Safety Committee meeting, but I know you all have traveled a couple of miles to get here. So if you would like to say something, are you here for either one of these pieces of legislation?
Yes. Should I speak?
Yes, you may. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, all.
Oh, can you turn on Cynthia, Mrs.
Right there.
Williams, go ahead.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Got it, yes.
Well, good afternoon, all. We are residents of Ward 1 on College Avenue, and we're certainly interested in parking issues. We would like to propose that there be some clarity, because as you said, Ms. Tierney, there is a lot of confusion about parking in the downtown area. And we would like to recommend that there be at least a one-pager that outlines exactly what is going to happen or is happening with the parking in the downtown area, because there's so much confusion.
Before I forget, you have to give your name and address, please.
Okay, Linda Jacobs, Washington, 15 College Avenue. So we would just like clarity on what is happening with the parking in downtown Annapolis. I know that you have then postponed both of these items until a future meeting, but we would at least like some type of one-pager for the citizens of downtown that would give clarity to what's happening with the parking, because of course there are rumors everywhere. People are speculating. Everybody has sort of different interests. So we think that there really needs to be clarity on what's happening with the parking in downtown. So that's our,
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs,
Sure.
Washington. And Alderwoman Tierney, of course, represents Ward 1.
Correct.
And if she'd like to respond, absolutely.
Sure, yes. I guess you're not on my mailing distribution. Do you get my emails?
Nope,
Right, I guess, how long have you lived here?
all my life. I grew up on College Avenue.
Okay, so the reason why I ask is that this is all tied into the construction of the new garage.
Absolutely, we understand that.
And so what, we've been planning this for about the last year and a half. We've reached out to the Ward 1 Residents Association and gotten their feedback on this implementation. And what it's resulted in is that we have a new vendor, parking operator, who will operate the new Hillman. And he is operating or enforcing districts 1 and 2, of which you reside. You reside in District 1. So we have SP Plus in all of the other areas, but now we have Premium doing the enforcement. And what we've implemented in District 1 and 2, as working with the Ward 1 Residents Association, is a Park Mobile, with the understanding that we have a garage offline, and almost 500 parkers have nowhere to park, and they
Correct.
would infiltrate your neighborhood.
Correct.
Severely. And so to prevent that, we implemented Park Mobile, which we, you know, that's a pretty current thing to do in most cities. And we've made the rate for non-residents $4 an hour for people that still want to park really close to City Dock. They pay the $4. But the objective is that we relocate them to the garages. We've also introduced a website, accessannapolis.com, that is sort of the one-pager, if you will. I don't know if you've seen that website, accessannapolis.com.
Yes,
And
Mrs.
that-
Stevenson, our public information officer, is going to replenish the ones on the table.
Brochures for anybody who wants them, I'll just leave them on.
Okay, did you know this was gonna?
That's the one pager that was requested, and I just.
But that's, so
You're
Thank you,
good.
Ms. Stevenson.
I probably didn't have to say all that. Have you had any issues with your personal parking?
Absolutely. So we have, obviously, there are always issues in parking with College Avenue. By the way, we were at the WARA meeting about a month ago.
Okay.
So we did hear about the new parking initiatives and
Okay,
such.
good. Okay.
But again, I'm going to read this. I'm going to look at the website so that I can have clarity. We're mostly concerned if we were to have work performed on our house, where would the workmen, and also if we have guests coming to visit us, where would they park? And so I would assume that all of that is answered in here.
I'm not sure if you're, do you have a residential parking permit?
We certainly do.
Okay, and you are aware that as a resident with a permit, you also get temporary passes every month? Maybe, okay, so the passes, it's probably, the website is probably on there. You ask Premium for those temporary passes, and to accommodate the visitors, we've given special placards for those, but just the main thing is that you get I think it's 10 a month for your overnight guests. But we have to control the temporary passes.
Of course.
Because it will just defeat the whole purpose. So their website should be on there for any questions relating to your permit privileges, if you will. And essentially, they have not changed. Everything you had as a resident parking in District 1 is the same, other than we don't have, the 2-hour free parking anymore. That's Park Mobile, where that's the $4 an hour.
Right.
But so it's really important that you get those passes.
Yes, we used to get our passes up at the office. Yes.
Now it's, for District 1 and 2, it's with Premium. And offhand, I don't have their email, but I hope it's in there. Or Annapolis, if you go to AnnapolisParking.com, that's right, AnnapolisParking.com has the what I just said.
Okay.
Go here if you're outside of District 1 and 2, and go here if you're in District 1 and 2.
Okay, wonderful. So it will tell us where to get the temporary parking
Permits, yes,
passes.
to accommodate
Wonderful.
your concern about visitors and stuff
Okay,
like that.
great.
I'm sorry. I apologize. When you started talking, I thought that you weren't aware of the whole public-private partnership thing and all that.
Absolutely. And by the way, I used to work for the U.S. Department of Transportation, so I'm very familiar with parking issues
cool.
and traffic. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that there is clarity. And it appears that this indeed does give us clarity, or it will tell us where to go
Yeah.
to get the clarity.
Yeah, and sorry to hog up your meeting.
Oh, no, this is
Madam
very
Chair.
important, Alderwoman
But, yeah.
Tierney.
Yeah, because we've heard also from our neighbors that they're a little bit confused as well.
Yeah, there was an incident where College Avenue, just email me and let me get you on my email list.
Okay, wonderful. Okay.
Especially if that doesn't answer your questions. There was a mishap on College Avenue where the new vendor ticketed residents and that, poof.
Yes, we heard about that. Yeah.
So, so that, let's just move on from that.
No, we're good, we're good.
That's
Yes,
probably what
wonderful.
you've been hearing, yeah.
Well, great.
That's
Well, thank you
awesome.
so much. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for showing up.
And
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'll certainly be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
And I'm
you.
going to take a point of personal privilege. We do have a celebrity here in City Hall, Mr. Mark Washington, who was with the Dallas Cowboys for many years. And good to see you, Mr. Washington. Always a pleasure. So look, we're still there. So I'm gonna give you your props right here. But anyway, I think that's it. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay.
Oh, wait, I do.
Yes.
Sorry. Since this is public safety, I will say this. About 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to spend the day in the Annapolis Police Department on my own accord, not because I was taken in.
I heard about it.
And I hope to have that same opportunity with the fire department very shortly, as soon as I get my work schedule back into a manageable basis. But what I will say about that day was that it was very informative, and I got to meet individuals who work for the police department everywhere from their human resources to their dispatchers to their canine handlers to the community outreach. So pretty much every level. And I had about 15 to 20 minutes with each department. And one of the things I heard over and over again is that there are not very many older people who have taken advantage of that opportunity. And so I am going on record to say, if you haven't had a chance, please do that. It was great to be able to see the department from the inside out and really see where some of the things that the council has passed has been beneficial to that department. And like I said, I'm looking forward to my day at the fire station as well in the fire department. But please go and visit them because it was super informative, and I get to do a ride-along pretty soon, so that's my good of the order.
Thank you so much, and you're absolutely right. And I'll be honest, I have not had an opportunity to do a ride along with our Annapolis City Police Department, but I do need to do that. But it is very enlightening. As a prosecutor in Baltimore City retired, I do have a good sense of what they do, but of course, I've never done that here, so I need to do it myself. But no, it is an opportunity to see, from a finance point of view, where we need what we need and where we might need some other things. And just had a brief chat with Chief Romali a couple of minutes ago before we got started, and another situations where they might need some support as well. And I think it's extremely important. And as you all recall, back in the early spring, back in March, we had some conversations and some ideas as what we needed to do. And the council was so gracious enough to pass the legislation, the amendment for the budget, for the money for Annapolis Recreation and Parks. And we've done some tremendous work this summer, as well as continuing to do that. Fire, police, Office of Emergency Management have been extremely strategic in that. And of course, we couldn't get started until July 1st because that's when the money came through. But they've done amazing work. I can't say it enough. Amazing work in mitigating what has gone on in our city. And I think if you look at the data and the numbers, I think there's no doubt about it. There's a correlation between what the council passed for that budget and what we're seeing lately. And I'm not going to jinx us because I'm not going to say it, but every morning I wake up and I hope I don't see a text from Deputy Chief Branford. But I think we have been very good at looking at what we need, because of course public safety is front and center in many ways. Like I said, with Annapolis United, it's love our children, and that's the Rec Parks part of it. Love our neighbors, the Office of Emergency Management, and Alderwoman O'Neill has been strategic and extremely on the front lines when it comes to especially Food Fridays and that sort of thing, and that's loving our neighbors. And then with pieces here, when the fire department shows up, the calm begins. And then, of course, stop the violence when it comes to the Annapolis Police Department. And when we started this with, and the first initiative we had was Annapolis' Most Wanted. And the chief and I had talked about that on several occasions doing that, and we finally implemented it. And within 24 hours or so, a gentleman who had some handgun charges turned himself in. So we knew we were on the right track. One more gun off the street, one more person allegedly off the street. And so this is huge. This initiative has been huge, and I thank the council for voting for that. I can't even describe what it has meant to this city, and I've heard it over and over again. And I just want to say a shout out to all of us, as well as our residents, our businesses, and our visitors. We take public safety extremely, extremely, extremely important. And so I just want to say that, I'll piggybacking off of what you said. Thank you so much for doing that, spending your time to do that, and to see what it's really like. Many of us know we're going to be going home in the evenings. There are those of us, police, fire especially, who are not sure if they're going to make it home to their families or not. And that's not a good thought, but it's hard and stressful on families. And we recognize that, and we salute you all for that. So thank you so much. Yes, Alderwoman Tierney.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to sort of respond to my colleagues. 4 years ago, I went on a ride along, and it was, how else can I explain it? But one experience was, among like a half a dozen things. There was a recent shooting or something, so the detective who was hosting me had to go into the neighborhood. And so we went into the neighborhood, and you could see all of the young adults just scattering, just, oh my God, police. And I mean, it was so obvious. And so that was this sort of, lack of trust, or, versus now, this is public. We had a press release today, I believe 3 days after an event, that the suspect was arrested, and that is due to detective work, getting into these communities and developing that trust level that I didn't see 4 years ago. I mean, that was just one example, but it has just grown exponentially under the leadership of Chief Jackson, and I just thought that was worth saying.
Absolutely. And what was I going to say? It has been a revelation in many ways. Alderwoman O'Neill was at the graduation and promotion exercises last week. That was huge. And I can truly say that when you look at the organizational chart, it is very, and I'm going to use Ms. Jacobs-Washington term, clarity. There was a lot of clarity when you look at that organizational chart, and I believe I had forwarded it to you all, as to who's the commander for patrol. But the probably one of the biggest things that has happened is the chief and the deputy chief decided that we needed a commander for community outreach, which is Captain Maguez, and it couldn't be a better person to do that. That shows the community, that tells the community tangibly how we care about public safety and how we care about the community. When you actually have a commander on the command staff level with patrol and operations, that this is extremely important to us. And I think based on my conversations with the chief and the deputy, it has made a huge difference in the way that the residents respond to the police officers. And when there was a shooting in a neighborhood, and I'm not going to say what it was, and the chief has said it several times, there was a lady just walking down the street, and he wasn't even in uniform, and she said, "Here comes the chief," as if to say, now we're going to get things straight. And so that's the kind of response that they're getting. They're getting letters and emails from people thanking them for the new day and the new dawn. And I think, I can't say it enough, and they're working in tandem, of course, with Fire and Office of Emergency Management, and now Rec and Parks as well. Because as we remember, during COVID, there was only one place we could go, was a park, where we didn't necessarily need a mask on. We could socially distance, but enjoy the outdoors. And people nationally realize and recognize the benefit of the parks, and Alderwoman O'Neill has put in for 2 more, and I think I've got 2 more, and I know that Rec and Parks is stretched to the limit when it comes to staff, keeping up all the parks and parklets and mini parks and whatever we want to call them, but they have become a lifesaver for this city. And so Annapolis United has really taken to task what we really need to do. And of course, the Office of Emergency Management was front and center when it came to the COVID relief. And Alderwoman Tierney and I attended every Monday meeting with the businesses to find out what are the issues, what's the problems, how do we need to solve this. Then on Tuesdays, I attended the roundtable, and every department was there, including our county council representative office and our state representative office. Everybody was there to hear what was going on. We exchanged ideas. Do you need help with this? I'll be over there. And on Wednesday, it was human resources, and they had their meeting. I did not attend those. So we were very strategic in what we did, whether it's during COVID or just, for lack of a better term, normal times. And so I can't say, and I'm going to say it again, any more good things about our public safety team. They are above and beyond reproach, and it is a new dawn and a new day. And we do salute you all for all that you do. And we know that the residents, the businesses, and the visitors do the same. We take it to heart. We're passionate about what we do, and it's beyond belief. Thank you for that opportunity. Anyone else for the good of the order?
Doug Romali, Fire Chief. With me is Deputy Chief Carol Spriggs. We just want the Public Safety Committee to know that we recently hired 7 new firefighters. They started today. They're all lateral transfers from other departments. They are not new positions. These are due to retirements and people leaving and going to other places. 2 of them are paramedics. What's significant about the lateral program that we have is it saves us so much money in training costs. So it takes us at least 7 months to get a firefighter on the street, a firefighter EMT, and then you have to add 1.5 years to 2 years more to that for paramedics. These individuals will be on the street by Christmas, which will help some of our staffing issues where we've been having to pay a lot of overtime lately just to staff on a daily basis. So they've come from all over the state of Maryland, plus we have one from Ohio who originally was from the Maryland area, moved out there with his family, and is coming back to us. So we appreciate your assistance there with our budget, and that we want you to know that they're starting today. In 6 weeks, they'll be out in the field, and they will be out on the street by Christmas.
Thank you so much. That's so exciting. I know you all have a diversity of those within your ranks, and from what I hear, you have an African-American female paramedic coming on as well, and that's exciting as well. So yes.
We do, and we have a recent promotion that we're doing a pinning ceremony for that individual tomorrow at 11:30 at the Taylor Avenue Fire Station. So we're proud of some of the accomplishments of our people. As you know, our staff is out here every day trying to meet the ongoing demands of our constituents. and they're trying to do their best to make things better for people. So we're proud of our staff, and we're proud to continue to move the department forward. But we appreciate your support.
Thank you. And I always try to bring up two instances. I know one where one of the alderpersons had asked, why are there 37 people at one fire? And Deputy Chief Spriggs broke it all down and told us the needs and why that is. And a lot of it has to do with safety and liability. We won't leave that out as well. So thank you for that explanation, which was great. And the other thing is too, I always bring up the situation about the fire over on the corner of Hilltop and Spa. When the lady had been transferred over to Pip Moyer, and she was very concerned about her purse. And Deputy Chief Spriggs went over to her home and went in her closet and brought every purse that he could find to make sure she got the right one. And so those are the little things, but things that mean a lot to people when they're in distress. And I thank you all so much for being there for the big things, but also for the seemingly small things, but mean so much to our residents, our visitors, and our businesses. So thank you all so much. Anything? And we welcome Ms. Kaylin Jackson as our new city council associate. And she's here after several days. This is her first week. And so we welcome her and we look forward to working with her. And she is a former school teacher, first grade. Yes. And so I know she misses her students, but we've got students here. And so you can teach us a lot. But we welcome you. And Ms. Reuter, thank you so much for always being here with us. Ms. Reuter is new as well. She's been here for several months, but we're also glad to see you and glad to be with us. And we're so happy to have you as well. So thank you all. And of course, Mr. Tripp and our Office of Law, who's our newest Assistant City Attorney. And Mr. Mark, thank you so much for being here. And we welcome you as well to our public safety team. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay. Can I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposition. And it is 4:44 p.m. Thank you all so very much. Meeting adjourned.